everybody, to another edition of Artist Talk. Our special guest today is Kevin Boldenow. His exhibition, Vanishing Florida, is on view at the Pompano Beach Cultural Center. Hi, Kevin. Welcome.
Hi, how are you doing, Juliana?
I'm doing good, and I'm very curious about how you started that project, Vanishing Florida.
It just kind of came together. I always enjoyed photographing the landscapes, especially here in Florida. And as time went on, I've been here for over 20 years now, I just started noticing not even subtle differences, but differences in the landscapes. And it just took a little bit of thought process going into it. As to what had changed, and what had changed is that a lot of the landscape was being plowed over for development, which kind of, well, it upset me, obviously, because nature just, go ahead.
It seems to me, do you always carry possibly your camera with you and you document these changes as you encounter them, or do you plan ahead when you see something happening and you visit a site? How do you usually approach this?
Usually when I go out hiking in nature, I've always got my cameras with me, and I say cameras, usually 2 or 3. I have a backpack, and when I see something that interests me, I stop right there and set up and just kind of look around the surroundings, and then set up the camera and do my shooting.
That's fascinating. Do you go back sometimes to places, like you document something and maybe you see changes in a period of time? Do you go back and document those changes at a later time?
All the time. One park in particular that I visit a lot is Riverbend Park, which is in West Jupiter. And it's not just, it's really nature that changes it constantly through the storms and the flooding and the lack of water. So you're documenting different views of how it looks. In fact, I was just out there about 2 weeks ago doing just that. And, encountering a little bit of wildlife also on occasion.
It's really valuable what the project that you're doing, documenting those changes and how it's ever changing, like you mentioned before. I've noticed that you've shown your body work in other different organizations, so and mostly local. So could you share with us what has the feedback from the community when they see your work and the impact that it has?
Well, a lot of the people that come to my exhibits, they'll look at my work and not even be able to comprehend that it's in Florida. Yes, it's got that Florida feel to it, but at the same time, people don't get out of their backyards or their communities often enough to see the beauty of Florida and the nature, and then also history that's out there. So, I'm just hoping people start making a more concerted effort to do just that. I've noticed that Riverbend Park now, especially over Father's Day weekend, you couldn't even find a parking space there because you had so many people coming out to enjoy it. I would say that people are more aware of their surroundings now than they were even 10 years ago.
That makes sense. I mean, with the current situation that we live in and people being restricted to being on place, I think once some of the restrictions open, everybody was looking out for nature and being able to breathe fresh air.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and now with the advent of Ancestry.com and a few other um, websites out there where people are starting to look into their own family histories, um, going out and trying to find out where they came from. And a lot of them, you know, have had generation upon generation here in Florida, but they were so spread out that a lot of times they didn't even know about certain family members that were out there. So, and some of the places that I go to historically are old abandoned cemeteries. And a lot of people don't even realize that, yeah, their family name might be in that cemetery, but they do not know who they are. So they start, you know, looking up into their family tree.
That's interesting because what you're saying, I mean, the title of your project is Vanishing Florida, but that phenomenon is also like recovering history in a way. So you're documenting vanishing, but at the same time as you document the disappearance of the nature of Florida, you're documenting also these discoveries, which is an interesting relation. I was reading through the documents for the exhibition that you sent, and there was a beautiful story of how you got into photography when your father gave you a camera. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, it was actually, I was the designated photographer when I was growing up, and they handed me their Brownie camera, which was quite a classic. It is quite a classic now, and I'm not sure if you can even find one that operates anymore. But as I started developing a passion for photography, I just started doing more with it, and not just taking pictures of family and friends, but I wanted more people to see my work, not just little snapshot pictures. And that's how I started, first of all, showing in galleries, and now more into I'll call them high-end art centers and museums. And I'm very pleased that there are several venues here in the state that are willing to show my work.
Yeah, it's great that you have exposed many people in the community in Florida to see this history and to make us aware of what's happening in the state in terms of what's happening to the ecology. How about photographers? Is there anyone who has left a mark in you and inspired you? Are there any photographers that you admire?
Absolutely. Ansel Adams would be number one on my list. Unfortunately, he had passed away a long time before I was even putting a camera in my hand, but just the intricate details that he was able to put in his photographs, and the time that he took in the darkroom to bring these beautiful structures, I guess you could call them, a lot of them, whether they be the mountains or even some pieces of history, and the time that he took to bring them to life. And then there's Dorothea Lange, who she did a lot of landscapes and things like that, but she also did a lot with people, and especially when there was some type of event or problem, or struggle going on. And then a lot of her best work was done in the Dust Bowl, which, we don't even talk about in our history classes hardly anymore. But, just the look the people's faces that, you know, that she captured. You could just tell the hurt that was going on inside of them. And of course, there's Florida's own Clyde Butcher. He goes out into the middle of the swamps where a lot of people would never even consider venturing going into, and capturing some of, you know, the beauty of Florida. And he's going elsewhere too, but his Florida photographs are probably some of the most iconic that anybody will view, put it that way.
All right, so we're almost reaching the end of the interview, but Kevin, I wanted to ask you if there's anything else that you want us to know about your work.
The history part of it is becoming more and more important, not just the wilderness. I can relate when I had an exhibit in Panama City, and I was driving there, and on the side of the road stood an old, probably a cracker home. I'm not really that familiar as it was, but an old family homestead. And so I pulled off the side of the road immediately, and yeah, I did have my cameras with me, and I took, you know, several images of it. And then when I had an exhibit, that was back in 2004. And then when I had an exhibit in Pensacola at their museum in 2014, we're going back, you know, then there's a 10-year span. And I just told myself, I have to find this house just to see what it looks like now. And I found it, and it was not in anywhere near the same kind of shape that it had been. So, you know, you see what happened in 10 years time, and how nature kind of was just taking it. And you could almost feel the tears coming out of the walls of this homestead. I definitely would like to get back up there even now, just to see what might be left, if it's just, you know, completely toppled to the ground. But my exhibit there will have two of the shots, one from 2004 and one from 2014, where you can see the difference, and, you know, get a sense of, you know, what happens when things like that get neglected.
That's true. Your exhibition is incredibly powerful, and those two photographs are installed side by side, so we can see, whoever comes to see it at some point, they will see Lost Hope.
Go ahead. Yeah, they're called Lost Hope. Yeah.
It is. So it's yeah, your exhibition Vanishing Florida encompasses a lot: vanishing memory, vanishing structures. So I thank you so much for the opportunity for talking to me and to us today, for allowing us to show your exhibition, your work in Pompano Beach Cultural Center. And well, that's it. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time for the next Artist Talks.